Good day, fellow Intertubians. You are watching Linux Ronin. Your hosts, me, spirodotgeek, and my good friend in Australia, Swathe. Now, this is our first episode, so it's going to suck. So I'm just putting that out there right now. We don't know what we're doing. However, we're going to talk about Linux shit. It's going to be relevant to sysadmins, and we're just going to cover off a bit of news, I think.
Sounds like a plan.
So, the first thing I wanted to talk about was Adobe Flash. Mozilla have got the power now to basically hamstring Flash, to say, hey, a whole lot of holes have been found thanks to hacking team being doxxed, and we don't want our users to suffer. I'm not sure if I like that whole, we'll fucking pat you on the head there, nothing will ever fucking harm you. But, it is what it is. And so we've got here, I do like Yahoo has got an article saying, what is Adobe Flash and how can you get rid of it? So it's all, people are already basically saying, hey, this is shit. You don't want it anymore. It's a 20-year-old thing. Nobody seems to care anymore. Most of the world has moved on to HTML5, except, bless their hearts, fucking VMware, who still insist that I have to use Flash on Linux to connect to their vCenters. So, yeah, that makes me less than happy a lot of the time. So I've got to use Chrome at work, even though it's a bloated pile of
shit.
Steaming pile of turd that it is. And because Adobe gave up on Flash on Linux. Pity they didn't give up on the rest of Flash on every other platform, but So the vulnerabilities that were found, there was quite a few of them. I was looking at a CVE page, which I probably should have prepared earlier, which I'm going to try and find load up here. It's basically a whole lot of these CVE vulnerabilities, and they're all marked at a score of 10, bright red. I don't know if that, that's probably bad. So Mozilla turned around and said, hey, dear Adobe, we're going to turn it off until you fix the problems. Now, apparently they did fix some of the problems, and I think it's been turned back on, but I wouldn't know because the main machine I use at work is running Linux, and that has an ancient version of Flash, which is probably going to be forever disabled. So, I don't know. Actually, when I was looking into this, apparently Apple removed Flash from Safari back in 2010 and completely banned it from every iOS device. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, how does it affect you? I know you don't have VMware boxes at work, do you, or anywhere, do you?
No. Well, sadly, our virtualization's done on Hyper-V. I don't know what's the bigger evil. And yeah, old Steve Jobs, he bloody hated the Flash.
Yeah.
I think it's just easy PR points for Mozilla to block Flash. Like that many people basically spit on it on the street now. It's not funny. And HTML5 beats Flash like a redheaded stepchild. Sorry, like it performs so much better. It can do so much more. The only thing, I'm not going to say it's an advantage, but one thing that I'll admire about Flash, I won't say like, is that the hardware acceleration. So, you got an NVIDIA GPU, you can use your GPU to sort of offset the computation a bit. So if HTML5 could take advantage of that, that would be awesome. But I'm more than prepared to suck it up and tell Flash where to go jump.
Yeah.
So
yeah, see, I'm amazed at that someone as big and ugly as VMware haven't moved on, and it's something that we're going to come back to later in the show. But their whole platform is built on Linux. I would have thought they cared more. Well,
but they care, but not about that.
They care, but yeah, about the profits. All hail the
there's
profits.
plenty of research and development done into their licensing model, so they can take advantage of lots of RAM. But Flash eventually, I think its days are numbered. It will go.
Yeah.
Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Soon.
So I guess that segues well into this next news article.
Yeah.
The Mozilla Winter of Security is back now. I'm glad that it's back, but I never knew it existed in the first place, so this is like the first time for me. From what I gather, it is Mozilla's version of Google's Summer of Code.
Yep.
So they're proposing to work on 6 projects that contribute directly to their most impactful security tools. So they'll be engaging with college students in the US, I imagine, and they're going to work with MIG MIG, SSL TLS configurations with Menagerie, certificate management with Let's Encrypt, security visualization with MozDef. I don't know where the hell they come up with that. Web security scanning with web security scanning with OWASP-ZAF. Yes, I am reading this off the page because I can't memorize all this rubbish.
I'm trying to find it on the page.
Yeah. So basically, it's all student requirements, and applications close on the 15th of August. So if you want to help Mozilla, and I really wish they'd get some sort of coding exercise around it. Yeah. Firefox not running so shit anymore, because it's been breaking my heart the last couple of years.
Well, actually, I did read somewhere, and I don't even recall where now, so it's just going to come off as complete conjecture. But I heard that they were going to be wrapping it all up and de-bloating it. I think that was in the works for a very near version.
I think it drastically needs it.
Yeah.
I was an avid Firefox user. If me and Firefox went to prison, I'd fight in the showers to protect it. That's how much I loved it. And I played with Chrome when it came out, but Firefox ran so much better, and like Chrome was the memory or used all the RAM, but.
So it's interesting actually, because I switched over to Chrome, and I was using that for a number of years. And the one thing I did like about it was the fact that it would run the processes, and each tab was a separate process. I was used to shit crashing a lot, probably because of Flash, thanks Adobe. But I don't know, maybe a year or two back, I switched back to Firefox. On my Windows box, which was running Windows 7 32-bit at the time, it would crash and burn. This is Mozilla, would crash and burn whenever it got to around about a gig of memory. And I just switched that box over to 64-bit, which is actually the box I'm running this video off here. And I haven't noticed as many crashes for it. I mean, this has got more RAM now. It recognises the whole 8 gig. So maybe it's a percentage of RAM. I don't know. But, it bugged me that, like, for years, it's like, how the fuck can nobody notice that on Mozilla's main platform, which is Nintendo's, that, once it gets to this point, a gig of RAM, so anywhere between, 800 megs and a gig, that it would just crash. And I thought it was my video card, changed video drivers, all sorts of shit. Changed video card. So
I've been pretty lucky, but admittedly, this is probably going back 3 or 4 years now. I started using Firefox nightly, so that, the nightly build. And at that stage when I started using it, it was, it was like day and night. Like the nightly build was so much faster than regular Firefox. The only sort of caveat with that is obviously it's a nightly build, so there is some instability and some plugins weren't compatible. But I haven't had any stability issues with it for ages, and I still use it every day.
Yeah.
I wish it was better, but the security. We obviously take security a bit more seriously than the average user does. Like we've got, you've put SSL on our IRC server, SSL on our on the Ronin.net Friendicas instance. So we use it every day in a work environment. I don't think it's too much to expect it to be secure and stable. Like I don't want to. And fast, I don't want to here's 3 things, you can have 2. Like I want them on all 3.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so let's get back on track with this Mozilla Winter of Security. I was actually going through, they've got some links to some of the 2004's code that was released, and it was funny. The first one I looked at was the TLS Observatory, which looked like basically something that I just do in a one-line shell script, which is go to a machine, see if the SSL TLS cert is still valid, and report an alert as appropriate. And one of the prerequisites is you got to use Elasticsearch, which one of our developers is using at work, and it's a Java-based search API that I don't know. It seems to be running well on our production box, but on our development box, something is different. I don't know what. And it was just spamming our mail server just non-stop as well. It's just it opened and it would open up. Sorry, I'm lying to you. It wasn't doing the mail server. It was opening up lots of sockets, and it was basically killing Apache. So, yeah, I don't know. It seems to be we're in a world where bloat is okay as long as it looks pretty.
So many people use the excuses now. Hardware's so powerful now. Like, yeah, it is, but I want to take advantage of the extra power, not use any progress that's made in like RAM speed or.
It doesn't mean my CPU is a fucking sponge.
Exactly. I don't want to run my computer as a heater for my house either. And just some of the resource usage for browsers just absolutely drive me insane. But
yeah,
there are alternatives out there which we'll probably get into in a future episode that I think are much better personally.
Yeah.
But then some things don't run them, so we're going to take it as it comes, I think.
That's it. Don't say you get what you pay for, right?
Exactly.
Fucking free software.
Bloody communists.
Okay, so completely unrelated. I've started using SUSE, or OpenSUSE recently, and it's been kind of interesting. I'm kind of liking it. I have been mostly as far as work and servers goes, have been mostly working with CentOS in the last 15 years. So, and the last time I used SUSE was SUSE 5, which was, we're not talking SUSE Enterprise, we're talking SUSE 5 back in the 90s. So, I figured I sort of needed to look at it again. Had been playing a bit with it, so I've been doing some respins through the nice SUSE Studio. But the one interesting thing is, like, they're up to, so OpenSUSE is up to version 13. Service Pack 2, I think, is what they call it, so 13.2. The next version, they're jumping to version 42. So, the one of the quotes was, "This is a decisive move forward, one that makes a difference." So they've codenamed it Leap, because it's a big leap, it's a big fucking difference. I don't know, I'm not convinced. So also apparently they're going to tie the releases to SLES, to SUSE Linux Enterprise. They're going to align with the releases of that, but it's only up to version something lower. I can't remember now. I probably should have written it down. But OpenSUSE is 13. SLES I think is like 11, or I don't know. I'm making that up. So now are they going to jump the enterprise version as well? I don't understand are they just doing this so it makes it look like, hey, we've been around for longer, even though they haven't quite been? Is it trying to align with, what are Google's Chrome version up to? They must be up to like 83 by now.
Oh, yeah.
Everything
it accelerates at a rapid rate. I don't even think you can, it'd just be spinning like an odometer in a car.
It's another one of those things with the modern developers. It's everything is, we used to be in major releases used to be when we changed the version number. Now it seems that each time there's a major version, there isn't actually a major change to the software.
Well, it took VLC 5, 6, 7 years to even hit version 1. And everyone was like, yes, version 1's finally released. And now these people are, and it's not even, as you say, like a modest leap.
Yeah.
Like 13 to 42 is a fairly fucking hefty bloody jump in numbers. And I mean, I've never really used SUSE. I've played with it a bit since talking to you about it, and I have found it quite enjoyable. But I imagine they weren't, at least at that point of most of their history, a rolling release distribution. So were they like on a 6-month sort of release schedule, or?
I don't actually know what the release schedules are like for them. No,
I mean, even if they did twice a year, that's 21 years. I'll call bollocks on that.
No, it's not. It's so SUSE is supposed to be the stable. I mean, it's the enterprise Linux. It's supposed to be in line with Debian and with CentOS and Red Hat, right? So I don't think it has got, and I did see where they were talking about somewhere that they're long release cycles, and when they do each service pack, its lifetime is years, right? So well, now that's interesting, because now I'm looking at this web page that I've got, which I'll link to you because you can't see what I'm looking at, and it does talk about, it says down here, the result of this would be 2 distributions: our rolling release, Tumbleweed, which I thought Tumbleweed was the code name for the current OpenSUSE. Again, I'm pretty new to this world, so anyone who's watching, if you know anything about SUSE, OpenSUSE, if you're in that, please enlighten us. As I say, I'm new to it. The only time I started thinking about SUSE recently was when I got made redundant last year. A lot of the jobs I was applying for, a lot of the government work was SUSE. Apparently this is really big in New Zealand government. So I don't know why that's been chosen over Red Hat. So anyway,
maybe it's cheaper. Maybe the support's cheaper.
Well, the other thing I thought about was, okay, so the setup tool that SUSE has is called YAST, yet another setup tool, I believe it stands for. And it's quite nice. It's one of the nice things that I'm liking about it. But it's a very basic way of setting up the system and configuring things. And it's easy for me to have derided it and say, hey, this is just this is an easy way for noobs to set the boxes up, and people that don't need to know about what's going on. But sometimes even someone like me who's been using it for more than a couple of years, I've got other shit to do. So I want something where I can go and, just change something easily, and I don't need to go to, a lot of things now require you to change, 3 or 4 things in different places. You miss one and you bollocks things up. This is a nice way of just doing all that for you. So I can see both sides. And it's almost winning me over. It's a nice interface. You can put plugins in that manage anything. So yeah, it's kind of cool. But what the fuck was I talking?
Yeah. Well, I think when you've got like graphical tools like YAST, it's going to be beneficial for like Windows guys.
Well, and that's what I thought
to come across.
Yeah. Was this a selling point, or was this a,
I think it's got a genuine advantage, and even though I haven't used SUSE, it's not uncommon to hear people singing YAST's praises for admitting a box sort of thing. So, I know lots of us like to, swear by the command line and damn with the heathen GUI users, but there is a time and a place for everything. And as you say, we can't always sit there and script everything and that sort of thing. And if this tool works good, I think as long as you understand what it is doing in the background, were a GUI not available, or how to use both, then there's no harm in it.
Well, that's part of it. Is the one thing I've always said in the past was, if you've got a system that makes it really easy for people who don't know what they're doing to configure or to manage, when something goes wrong, they're stuck. And where does that leave them? It's almost like it's encouraging ignorance. And that's the point I have historically chosen to look at it from. But now that I'm just a lazy bastard, I just think, okay, well, give me the nice GUI tool. Give me the nice.
You're just optimizing your efficiency.
Right, that's it.
We've got to be able to tell management all these nice little phrases.
Yeah, if I die, the instructions are click, 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 click.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's. So, but again, I lost track. But I was talking about that. It says that there will be 2 distributions: a rolling release that's continually updated, and a stable release 42, which is upgraded between versions. So I'm not sure what the state of that exactly is going to be.
Hopefully, someone can explain it, or someone can tell us so we can explain it to other people. Exactly. I'd love to know, just to know sort of thing what the logic was. Like, we'll keep looking around for.
Yeah, well, on that page it says, leap is a fresh, short, expressive. Oh, that's a bunch of wank. Dynamic, powerful, and decisive move forward. One that makes a difference. The release will be a big leap. So apparently it'll come out. There's a SUSECon in Amsterdam around the beginning of November, and they said it's going to be released around that time. So yeah.
Might not get the coverage of WWDC, but I think they have an actual official SUSE YouTube channel where they upload all the stuff from their conferences. So
okay.
I'll keep an eye out.
I'd have to check that out. Cool.
Awesome. I suppose continuing with the server side sort of stuff.
Yep.
Linbit, some form of company I have never heard of, which isn't surprising because there are millions of them out there. But anyway, they are launching a new Synchronous server storage software, and it is called DRBD9. So I don't know if that's an acronym for something or
like a robot out of Star Wars.
Yeah, might be a new bounty hunter to team up with IG-88. But so this DRBD9 provides enterprise Linux users with synchronous server storage replication, including support for native remote direct memory access or RDMA, and OpenStack integration. OpenStack's obviously becoming one of those sort of buzzwords and gaining in popularity. So according to Greg Eckhart, who is the business development manager for Linbit, he said synchronous data replication between multiple servers in a stable performance manner is something the market has demanded for quite some time now. RDMA technology allows computers in a network to exchange data in main memory without involving their processors, caches, and operating systems. And PCIe storage, obviously fairly fast stuff, combined with InfiniBand network cards, yields a 100% replication increase over traditional IP-based networks, and it simultaneously reduces CPU load by 50%, so you can run Firefox and Chrome without crashing, and it is available for download now. So, obviously, with all these things like OpenStack and Docker, and the whole storage technology seems to be growing a fair bit. And when I first read this, I thought it might have been a competitor for the distributed file system, Gluster FS. And if people aren't familiar with that, it's really heavily used by like film and TV effect studios that need to manage vast amounts of very quick storage so they can render projects. Because I believe that say the movie, what's that stupid movie, the bloody blue aliens that everyone loves that I can't stand.
What?
That popular movie that was done in 3D with all the blue aliens.
Oh, Avatar?
Yes, Avatar.
Right.
Now, the uncompressed, like the raw film was a petabyte.
Wow.
So, there's actually a gentleman on the Overclockers Australia forum who works for a company, and he set up a Gluster FS solution, and the Gluster team interviewed him. I actually watched it a few months ago. I might chuck a link for that to go in our show notes if we get around to doing them.
Yep.
But yeah, obviously storage is a massive thing, and I thought this was going to be like Gluster FS, but now how they're trying to work in machine memory, I'm not sure. And at the moment, I only work with very basic NASs, and they've hand-rolled a couple of sands with like FreeBSD in previous roles, and just to use iSCSI with VMware or any hypervisor. So I don't know. It could be interesting. I've never really used anything like it. I don't know whether you've had the opportunity to play with anything neat. This,
my current setup is we've got a few VMware storage clusters around Australia and New Zealand, and it's all either SANs or we've got one NAS as well. But we don't do anything clever. Like all our file systems are for the most part bog standard ext3 or 4, with LVM on top, sort of thing. So.
Well, further in this article, I'm pretty sure it does mention that it's built straight on ext4.
Right.
So nothing really fancy. Gluster FS uses XFS, or I can't even remember the other one that said that it uses, but they're the two popular ones.
Right.
So I thought this was interesting. I always wanted to play with something really flash, but unless I get a government grant for some flash hardware, I think I'm just going to have to stand on the sidelines and watch other people play.
Mozilla just crashed. Speaking of the devil, thanks. We'll probably blame Adobe, so thanks Adobe.
Thanks again, motherfuckers.
So, what I was trying to say was, I was reading a news article on the spam rate having fallen below 50% for the first time in this article says in a decade, but I think I read somewhere else that it was in the last 12 years. Symantec released a report, and so it's got the levels of spam have been slowly falling since 2010 for multiple reasons. So I think one of the recent ones was a botnet takedown. Simda, I think, was the recent one. Before that, we had the Game Over Zeus, which was that earlier this year or was that last year? I can't remember now. And that was doing a lot of shit. So it's got, unlike 6 or 7 years ago, sending billions of messages per day from massive botnets isn't as feasible anymore. And I guess part of that is because a lot more mail admins are tying shit down. They're making it more difficult for, and certainly I know from working in an ISP that, well, not so much our company, the company that I work for now, or the company that I worked for before, but other ISPs in the country have been tying down and not allowing people to send out, either not allowed to send out mail at all from their machines, unless they pay for like a business connection, get themselves a static IP, and or manually request to have the mail turned on. So it's harder for them to for the bot herders to actually get their work done. But a lot more things now are coming out where in my current work we're using cPanel for some of the customer accounts where they set up the web and the mail and everything, and by default that has a lot of rate limiting set. I think a lot of these things are acting against the bot herders, which is good. But I mean, obviously the numbers that these guys were throwing shit out was interesting actually. So we got here in June, Symantec saw 704 billion email messages sent. Right, that's in 1 month. Of those, 353 billion were classified as spam. All right, now those are big numbers, but at one of the peaks of the spam epidemic in June 2009, 5.7 trillion of the 6.3 trillion messages sent were spam. So you're talking fucking, half a billion legitimate emails in June 2009, 5.7 trillion spam.
Jesus Christ.
And that is fucking mental. And this shit wouldn't be working if people weren't clicking on it. This would be, I think spam would be a dead industry if it wasn't for users that would just continue to click on this shit.
I mean, I couldn't even imagine the amount of Viagra emails I've had to delete myself, or have come up in the logs that are coming through.
But how did it? Okay. So over the last decade, I've watched the messages get more and more cryptic. This is the spam messages get more and more cryptic. People have to really work hard to figure out that this is a dodgy message. That this is a legitimate message that is going to have a dodgy link. So, people must be. This must be intentional. Okay, ignoring things like, the Nigerian lotteries and the the money that you're going to win from the Nigerian princes or.
Oh yeah, I still get those offers every day. Like I should bloody collect on one of these days. I could do a lot of good with $5.7 million.
Imagine how much RAM you could buy.
I'd be able to run two instances of Firefox.
It might be enough to run Flash on 2 windows at once.
I think a lot of us, the whole attack vector is changing.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that Nigerian emails still go out, I don't know whether that's still being actively sent or it's just still bouncing around the internet waiting to die.
Well, no, see, because people try new things all the time. I mean, I'm watching through my spam queues. I see just kind of various spins on these things. It's all some from Nigeria. I mean, fewer and fewer are pretending they come from Nigeria now. Some of them will appeal to people's religion. Some will appeal to people's greed. I guess it all comes down to the greed, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, even like with the the advent of this crypto locker stuff, like emails come in, like in Australia, there was one getting around a traffic infringement notice from the New South Wales police.
Right.
And people just think, oh shit, I've been booked speeding. Click, everything's encrypted on their computer. And I'm just like,
why would they click it? Even if they've been busted, why would you fucking delete it? Never got it. Never fucking got it.
How does New South Wales police have the email address of every person in the fucking... And, there's no official letterhead or anything like that. And they don't look at the link. I mean, it's not even like they use HTML to just say, click here.
Yeah.
It's some, www.thisisbullshit.com, fucking blah, 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 and people are still clicking on it, or else it's Australia Post has got a package for you to pick up. Or FedEx. No one in Australia uses FedEx.
We still get emails telling us we've got a fucking fax. It's like, what? Fuck off! What fucking century are you living in?
I don't even want a legitimate fax. That's considered spam to me, so I don't want a bloody email of it either. So yeah, I tip my hat to all the admins in the world that are doing a good job securing their mail service and stopping this sort of rubbish.
So I'm looking at this report from Symantec, and it's interesting actually, because I think the biggest drop here comes from because they give you a breakdown of the targeted attacks and the phishing, and the manufacturing sector has dropped the most. It's gone from 41% in May down to 22% in June. But a lot of them have gone up. Services professional has gone up from 5% in May to 17% in June. Transportation, communication, electric, gas, and sanitary services, I don't know how the fuck those all got bundled together, were gone up, basically doubled from 6% to 12%. I mean, a lot of these have gone up. Construction targeted phishing has gone up from less than 1% to 7%. But it's that huge drop in manufacturing that has seen, the overall levels, I think, come down. So, it just shows that it's that I think we're just seeing a shift, right? So these guys are saying, okay, well, this isn't working as well, or maybe it's not as profitable anymore. So they're shifting to something new, and maybe we're just in the throes of that shift. Maybe they're still figuring it out. It's a pretty interesting breakdown actually. It does also go into the number of vulnerabilities that were reported. It goes into quite a lot of detail.
You said that paper was by Symantec, didn't you?
Yeah, it is.
Right, they didn't take credit for the whole lot, or
for
solving the world's spam problems?
Well, it's not that they've solved it. I think that it's that they just do regular reports, right? There's the link there for you, and I'll put that in the show notes. But they show the monthly changes. I mean, obviously they're Symantec are big and ugly, and they've got their noses everywhere as well. So they've got a pretty good eye on these things. And I don't know how much is extrapolated because obviously they don't have access to everything. But yeah, it's interesting.
Awesome. Well, it's good news. Okay. On to another totally different topic, I guess. Supercomputers, which I might build if I ever cash in one of those Nigerian bloody schemes.
Yeah.
But the Top 500 project has released their latest rankings. For those who aren't aware, top500.org twice a year release a ranking of the top 500 supercomputers in the world. Now, how they determine this list is they use a Linbit benchmark, which basically the machines are ranked solely by their ability to perform linear equations. And this time around, for the 5th consecutive time, I am probably going to totally mispronounce this, but the Tianhe-2 is a Chinese supercomputer done by China's National University of Defense Technology, running Ubuntu, and I think I already said, this is the 5th time it's taken out the #1 spot. So, this particular computer, I'd love to have this sitting on my desk, but I don't think it'd fit, has over 3 million cores. I think it's like 3,120,000, something like that. Its R max score, which is like the maximum Linbit performance that it has achieved, is 33,162.7 teraflops, which is a fuckload. The R peak, which is like their theoretical max, I don't know whether they just estimate if they overclock it or something, I don't know, but the theoretical max for it is 54,902.4 teraflops a second, and the power draw on this thing is 17,808 kilowatts, so that is a lot. Wow. I don't know if that's the draw over running one of these benchmarking tools, or a day, or a year. Oh, and my bloody phone is going. Oh, sorry about that.
We can pause.
It's okay. I'll ring it back. And the other interesting side note, of these 500 computers, 487 of them run Linux. So I don't think there's any Windows machines in there at all. I could be wrong. I'm not going to scroll through 500 to see. I imagine there's some BSD in there somewhere. And yeah, so
that's pretty cool.
Supercomputers and cluster computing has always been interesting to me. I still remember reading the old articles on Slashdot back in the day about people building Beowulf clusters in their garage with heaps of surplus crap that's been thrown out from one company or another. So, yeah, I just chucked it in. I thought that was interesting. And
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Linux is kicking ass.
Nice. Okay, so the other thing that I was going to talk about was there's been some interesting stuff in the news lately about Ubuntu and their intellectual property rights policy. So this, like when this first hit, I just kind of ignored it, and I was like, well, surely this is like Red Hat, you're not allowed to use their IP, you're not allowed to use their name, CentOS aren't allowed to, CentOS have to rebuild everything, and it takes them frickin' ages. And then when Oracle started rebundling Red Hat and branding it as their own, doing the exact same thing as CentOS does, but selling it to people for a whole shitload, and pretending it was all their work, Red Hat made things a whole lot more difficult, and so CentOS releases were taking a lot longer. But Red Hat, I don't think have really supported the whole respin idea, which I think Fedora do, but Ubuntu are really big on, right? I mean, that's one of the things that I think has driven their popularity, is the fact that you know, people are allowed to make derivatives, or have been allowed to make derivatives in the past, that are basically just respins. You know, you don't have to put any work into it. The same sort of thing that SUSE is doing with OpenSUSE and their SUSE Studio. You know, giving people the freedom to do this sort of thing is you know, makes it more popular. It gets it out there more. You know, so you know, I think from that point of view, this is not great, and it's not going to do wonders for Ubuntu. Not that I really mind, because I'm not really a big Ubuntu user. I mean, I've got it on my work laptop, but you know, to me, it's a desktop OS, and I tend to focus more on ones that are aimed at servers. So I've never really got into Ubuntu too much. So I don't see, or I don't understand why this has been such a big problem for everyone. Because, I mean, sure, okay, so will it kill the respin market? Yes or no?
Maybe that's Canonical's plan. I think.
And so my next question going along with that is, does it matter?
Well, to me personally, no. I think if you want to use deb packages, you should use Debian and screw Ubuntu.
Yeah.
But I mean, I used to watch a fair bit of Linux YouTubers, and you know, the majority of them, unfortunately, are just plain distro reviews, which put me to sleep. So I don't really watch them anymore. But there are just hundreds of Ubuntu derivatives, and you know, some of the really popular ones like Mint, which knocked it off the Ubuntu off the number one spot on Distro Watch some time ago now, if you put any stock in their figures or ratings or whatever. Yeah, you know, I don't know whether it's to stop competitors or they're trying to shore themselves up for some move they're going to make in the future, so they're trying to get their licensing in order.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it could be any one number of things. I mean, I used Ubuntu for a while when I was sort of made that first full-time switch to Linux, and you know, ever since Unity come out, a lot of people have hated it, and Mint sort of grown in popularity. So I could speculate on the logic behind the decision. In the end, it's not going to affect me.
Yeah. Well, it's got
Debian
this. So I'm looking at the Ubuntu page, which has got their legal terms and policies. And the summary is, you can download, install and receive updates for Ubuntu for free. You can modify Ubuntu for personal or internal commercial use. You can distribute Ubuntu, but only where there has been no modification to it. Sorry, you can redistribute Ubuntu. You can use our copyright, patent and design materials in accordance with this IP rights policy. Don't know why that's a summary point. You can be confident that you can trust in the consistency of the Ubuntu experience. Maybe that's a big part of it as well. You can rely on the standard expected of Ubuntu. Ubuntu is an aggregate work. This policy does not modify or reduce rights granted under licenses which is applied to specific works in Ubuntu. That's a nice little kind of sort of a catch-all, you know. We'll do what we can to meet the licenses, but
when it's in their own interest, we're not.
Exactly, or when people forget.
Well, see, the other thing I don't know, you know, and I don't speak legalese, obviously. I mean, there's plenty of distros out there that are respins of Ubuntu, but you know, don't call themselves Ubuntu, but they still grab packages from Ubuntu repository. So, you know, are they going to say, well, unless you're officially, you know, a Ubuntu branded thing or whatever, sorry, you're going to have to provide your own repos, which is going to, you know, knock out
Well, I
most of
think
them,
it
sort
just,
of thing.
I think it just means because it's got your use of our trademarks. Canonical's trademarks registered in word and logo form include Ubuntu, Edubuntu, Juju, Kubuntu, Zubuntu, and Landscape. How the fuck they brand trademark Landscape? I don't know. I guess it's a nice generic one, just like Windows.
Yeah.
But so I think that, and again, I haven't looked into this a lot. Maybe we can be enlightened, or maybe it'll just come right. After a bit of time when more stuff comes out. But I think it's just more around you're not allowed to use their name and their logo on stuff that you release publicly, which to some degree, I understand that's fine in a business world. And as I say, that's the exact same thing that Red Hat do. CentOS are not allowed to use, well, we're not allowed, sorry, I say, because this changed in the last year or so when they got in bed with Red Hat. So now the CentOS guys, I think, are actually staff of Red Hat now. It's like a subdivision. So yeah, I don't understand that. I think it's kind of, CentOS is to Red Hat what OpenSUSE is to SUSE Linux Enterprise. I think that's where that's aimed at. But CentOS has always historically never been allowed to use Red Hat's name, and it's always been referred to in their marketing as the upstream vendor. They never ever use Red Hat's name.
No, and it was always binary compatible.
Yeah.
Without any other words.
Yeah.
It's binary compatible.
So
if it's just wording and logo, I don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah. This does obviously affect a lot of people because it's because it's an interesting landscape. Oh, see, I can't use the term landscape now because that's one of their trademarks. It's an interesting world that we're now in, where there's so many people that rely on Ubuntu to produce these derivative works that I don't know what this is going to do for them, and how tightly it's going to be reined in. But knowing someone, we'll probably get a tool out there that'll automatically bloody strip all the names and everything out there.
Yeah. And I always thought Ubuntu, like the KDE, was like a community project anyway, so by how I read that, Canonical's like laying claim to that.
Well, maybe did they get subsumed into Canonical, or is that something that I missed?
Oh, I'm not aware, but I don't. The same with you. I don't really follow sort of what happens with Ubuntu too much. I just that comes up and I just start to yawn and do something else. But it might pay to look into that because I always thought that they were just a community effort. Right. Canonical helped
like
them.
Like a respin. It's a respin. It's like here's Ubuntu, but instead of putting GNOME, we're going to put KDE.
Yeah, so maybe it's now an official respin or whatever. If anyone uses Kubuntu or works on it or whatever, tell us.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
And I forgot to remember the link for it, but there's a thing called the Software Freedom Conservancy. It's an odd fucking word. Which tied me into. So they had a link about it, and I don't know where I put that link, but I did note down the. It was mentioned the VMware lawsuit that was going on, and I don't know if that's maybe that's too much of a tangent for this discussion, but it's interesting the how this organisation is fighting for the software freedoms. This VMware thing is about VMware using GPL code, their kernel, and they've rebadged effectively the Linux kernel. They've made some changes to it for their hypervisor, for the ESXis, and they've renamed it the VM kernel, and one of the kernel developers in Germany actually said you're using my copyrighted stuff. This is all, licensed code. You're not allowed to use it without releasing the source code. And this has been going on for years, trying to get VMware to release the source code, or at least to acknowledge that they have used GPL code and that they are breaking the license by only releasing a binary. And I think back in last year, 2014, VMware turned around and said, "Get knotted."
Well, because I'm not sure how it works now. I remember there was the whole TiVo debate with GPL2 versus GPL3, and I totally can't remember, but I did actually go see Storm and give a talk once, and he banged on quite adamantly about this, and this is why he's upset that Linus wouldn't move the kernel to GPL3. Now I think somehow with the GPL2, somehow it works. They can take stuff. And when it's an embedded device, I think they're not under such obligation to release things as they would if it's just like a normal application that's written. And I could be totally wrong here, and I'm just going off very foggy memories. But maybe because ESXi, it's not a physical appliance sort of thing, but it's a package thing. I don't know whether it falls under that anywhere.
Well, I think that might have been one of the things that they were arguing back. But so my understanding of the GPL is that they, if you make any derivative works, if you're releasing GPL code, if you're releasing any code that has GPL code, then your product must also be released as GPL, and the source code must be released. That's my layman's understanding of it. Which mine's a fairly well the same understanding as you, but I'm sure VMware have put a fairly expensive set of lawyers on the case, and well, maybe that's it. I wonder if they turn around and go, well, this is just Linux, it's free software, so who the hell's going to chase us in a court of law? Who's going to fund it? And I wonder if that is what makes them decide at the board level to go, well, fuck it, let's take that risk.
If they get found guilty, it could be a big payday for, but who gets the money? The guy that wrote that one snippet of code, or the FSF, or...
Yeah. Well, I don't think the FSF are having any dealings with this directly. I was reading that they've said that they have basically blessed the Software Freedom Conservancy, but they are not involved in it themselves, I think.
Right.
I think.
Well, I'm sure if it ramps up the EFF, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, for those that aren't aware, I'm sure they'll get on the bandwagon and do a bit of fundraising and that sort of thing if they think it's worth pursuing. So, if you want to see what happens, I guess.
Yeah, it's making me kind of a little bit nervous, because now I'm working for a place where we're using VMware as our core platform. There's, maybe in a few years, will VMware still even be there?
Well,
what was his name? Dale McBride and the whole Santa Cruz operation, SCO. Where are they now?
Yeah, well, that's right.
So, big companies can go down. So, yeah, makes me a bit twitchy.
Well, fingers crossed. It might force VMware to put their prices down too, which would be bloody good. So normal people can afford to have a support contract. So yeah, speaking of hypervisors, I guess this is only a little one. And Microsoft are providing support for Linux users in Azure now.
Now tell me, as someone who I don't know anything Microsoft, what is Azure?
as far as I'm basically aware, it's Microsoft's version of AWS from Amazon. So, right. It's a cloud virtualization platform thing.
Right.
You can spin up VMs for your organisation and that sort of thing, and storage and whatnot. I haven't looked a lot into it because where I work, we're an AWS shop, and that's all I use. So, I'm not tempted. I guess I should have a look just to see what it is, but I've not used it, so I'm not sure what the capabilities are. But it's getting pretty common these days to see, Microsoft and Linux in the same headline, where it's not about, Steve Barber making another one of his retarded statements, or people fighting about this, that, and the other. So yeah, Azure's their cloud computing platform. Apparently, this is probably Microsoft's spin, is very popular amongst Linux users. I don't know how true that is, and I can only guess so. And numerous distributions of Linux are supported on it, and now, just to quote the wording in this article, Microsoft are now doing the inconceivable, and it will provide support for Linux users who have deployed OSs in Azure. So, to sum it up, Azure is more popular with Linux users than I would probably believe.
Maybe they're the ones trying to hack it to see what its limits are.
Maybe they just do it for a laugh, or it's Friday afternoon, beers.
How quickly they can kill it.
The supported Linux distros on Azure are Ubuntu, CentOS, in brackets OpenLogic, Oracle Linux, go to hell, SUSE Linux Enterprise Server, OpenSUSE, and Core OS. So I don't know what the capabilities with it are installing any distributions outside of that, whether you could chuck an ISO up to a file store somewhere and boot off it, do that sort of thing. Now, it should be said that this isn't full support. Of course, people get too excited. They're just supporting, the things that cover the installation, the configuration of the VM, the performance of the networking. So basically, the underlying virtual infrastructure or virtual machine hardware, however you want to put it, Microsoft is supporting that. So, if I install CentOS or whatever, the NIC should work. The storage should work.
So what they're saying is that this is marketing wank speak for, we're building an x86 platform. It can put x86 OSs on.
I think this is purely driven because I can imagine there are many vendors who get contact from their clients, and we're having trouble with X application.
Right.
And they're what environment are you running in? Oh, we're running in Azure. And they're like, haha, it's not our stuff. It's Microsoft's fault. Go whinge at them. And Microsoft can now say, well, fuck you. Everything works. Go back to your software vendor. So
yeah. Well, I guess it's also from a business point of view where you've got people who, the CTO type people who are saying, well, we've got to support Windows and Linux servers, or we want to go into the cloud. We want to have one cloud vendor to pay a bill for. We don't want to support here and here and here and here to do it. We want it all to do it all in one place. And maybe this is just simply that. This is just marketing from Microsoft's point of view to say, hey, you can come to us and do everything here.
Yeah. Well, I
and
think
while
it's
we've got
great.
your email address, we'll spam you about the latest version of Windows.
Have you heard of Office 365? Be like Starship Troopers, would you like to know more? I think it's good that they're at least taking that sort of step that, and it's free money for them.
It's an olive branch, huh?
Yeah, so it's low-hanging fruit, really, but it looks good. It gets everyone going, we're all, it's going to be the big happy family now, and everyone can use everyone and not argue. As I said, I've never used it. I use AWS. I don't even know what the pricing is like on Azure. I think I read somewhere that it is expensive, which would not surprise me. But I don't know what hardware you're getting for that buck. AWS, all the stuff I use at work is low, and just a few web servers and stuff. So, I don't need anything flash or massive amounts of block storage and that sort of thing. So, if anyone uses it and it's actually good, tell me. If it's crap and I hear nothing, I'll just assume that that it is crap.
Is Azure live now? Is that something that is going? Is it?
Yeah, it is going. And as far as I know, they do a lot of work with they've been cooperating with Canonical in regards to their OpenStack stuff and things. So things are changing in Microsoft land. Like they're going to the Windows 7 and 8 users get a free upgrade to Windows 10. So by changing their licensing model for their software, I mean they still make squillions from their enterprise licensing because it is retarded. I don't want to pay a client access license just to get a fucking IP address from a fucking DHCP server. That is bullshit. I won't get in. I won't start caring about licensing. I'll have a bloody stroke. But it's as far as I know, it's live now. If anyone uses it and they want to let us know how good it is, let me know. Yeah. I've got access to it because my work unfortunately uses Office 365 for their email, which sucks as a Linux man, but at least I don't have to deal with Exchange Server, so that's that's probably saved my liver and 10 years of my life. So
outsource the problem.
Yeah, someone else can handle it. Oh, it's not working. I've logged a ticket with Microsoft. They will sort it out. There's nothing. My hands are tied. I'm gonna sit back and
do anything for you.
Yeah. So
nice.
That's it.
All right. Now, I guess we'll wrap the show up. I think we've probably been pushing an hour. People probably want to get to sleep.
Not a bad for a first effort.
Yeah.
Whether we'll scare people off or bring them in. If you are watching it, share it on everything. You get Candy Crush invites on Facebook. You send this and you say, I will be your Farmville buddy if you sit through this entire freaking thing.
There will be a test.
Yes. I don't know what the prize will be. A cut down version of Firefox that runs on Azure.
A free version of Windows 10.
Yes. Yeah, spam it. No, let me rephrase that. Spam it to people who deserve it. Don't spam your local tech support guy or anything like that. They'll get mad and they won't fix your Wi-Fi.
Yeah. So, thanks for putting up with us for so long. If you've stuck out this long, I'm spirodotgeek.
And I'm Swathe.
And we are Linux Ronin.
Catch you guys later.
We'll talk to you later.